20,000 years ago in prehistoric Europe, a small group of hunters led by their chief, Tao, prepares to attack a herd of steppe bison. They create a wall of spears that causes the bison to stampede off a cliff, but 3 stay behind, and one bull in particular goes after Tao's son, Keda. After savagely striking him with its horns, it drags him to the edge of the cliff, where Keda falls into the abyss after Tao strikes the beast with his spear. All of this began a week earlier, when the tribe's teenagers were tested on their spear-making skills. The only ones who pass are Keda and his friend Kappa, meaning they will be taken on the final hunting expedition before winter arrives. As part of the ritual marking them as adults, they are also beaten by the other men, so they learn that pain will accompany them on the journey, and they are blessed by the local shaman by the campfire. Later, pretending to be asleep, Keda overhears Tao and his mother talking. Ro does not believe he is ready to hunt because he is guided by his heart, not his spear, but Tao believes Keda must do his part and prove his worth to the tribe. The next morning, the hunting party departs after saying goodbye to their loved ones and receiving the shaman's blessing. Ro even gives Keda an extra piece of fur as a safety amulet. The group begins traveling across the land following the sacred path left by their ancestors, who made a series of rock sculptures that leave a trail to follow. The handprints painted on them point the direction they must take toward the hunting grounds. During the trip, they encounter another hunting group led by Shi, an old friend of Tao who recently lost his son. Both groups begin traveling together. Whenever he has the chance, Keda tries to prove himself to his father, but he fails to light a fire and does not dare to kill the wild boar captured by the other men, leaving him feeling like a failure. One night, while eating by the fire, they hear a noise behind them and quickly jump into a defensive position. When nothing appears, they relax, which turns out to be a mistake. A cave lion suddenly leaps out and snatches Kappa, carrying him away to be devoured. The next morning, the men build a cairn to pay tribute to Kappa, symbolizing the spirit's passage to the afterlife. The journey continues with stops only to hunt and rest. One night, when they find a large, safe cave for sleeping, Tao takes the opportunity to give Keda a tattoo of the constellations like his own, so he can always find his way home. It takes several days, but they finally find a trail of droppings that leads them to a herd of steppe bison, which brings us back to the beginning of the story. As he falls, Keda tries to grab a rough edge of the cliff, but he slips and lands on a lower ledge, where he breaks a leg and falls unconscious. Desperate to save his son, Tao tries to descend, but his fellow hunters stop him, pointing out that it is too late. While the men bring the sleds to load the bison, Tao remains at the edge of the cliff, weeping in denial. Now that their kill has been divided equally, Shi's group leaves on their own to return home, leaving Tao's group to have one last night of camping before they convince their leader it is time to move on. The next morning, Tao builds another cairn while tears of grief continue to fall. Many hours after the group has gone, a vulture lands on Keda and tries to feed on him. This wakes him up, and after getting rid of the bird by wringing its neck, he realizes the situation he is in. Dragging his broken leg, Keda tries to climb, but there are not enough rough edges to hold onto, and he ends up hanging there for a long and excruciating moment. Shortly after, a storm arrives and begins to flood the ground below him, so Keda accepts what he must do and lets go of his grip, falling into the water and losing consciousness again. When he wakes up the next morning, the rain has stopped and the flood has disappeared. After drinking water from a puddle and splinting his injured foot, Keda slowly returns to the top of the cliff, where he finds the memorial his father left for him. But Keda knocks it down in frustration when he realizes he has been abandoned and must find the way home on his own. Keda begins traveling alone. He feeds on insects, fills his canteen from any puddle he can find, and climbs trees to sleep safely at night away from predators. When a pack of wolves finds him in the middle of the day, Keda runs to a tree again, stabbing one of the wolves when it grabs his leg before he finally climbs to safety. He stays at the top of the tree until the wolves tire of waiting and all leave, except for the one Keda wounded. He prepares a spear to finish it off but is unable to do it, so he decides to ignore it. However, Keda cannot do that either. The wolf's painful howling is too difficult to hear. Keda decides to help and, after tying its snout so it won't bite him, he lifts the wolf and carries it to a lake to clean the wound. Unfortunately, they cannot rest there long because there are hyenas nearby, so Keda carries the wolf again until they find shelter in a cave where they can sleep safely. The next morning, Keda finds a mortar near a pile of bones and uses it to create a plant ointment that he applies to his foot, while the wolf manages to free its snout. Seeing that the animal is behaving, Keda decides to share his water with it, which the wolf finally accepts after much growling. Keda even goes as far as cleaning the wound with the fur his mother gave him and sharing the grubs he finds with the wolf. But grubs are not enough to keep them fed, so Keda finally dares to perform his first hunt. He kills a rabbit with a rock and even manages to finally light a fire to cook it. The wolf tries to take the rabbit from him, but Keda quickly pushes it away, remembering the lessons on leadership his father taught him. He establishes his dominance by always eating first and feeding the wolf after he is finished. However, no matter how much he shares with it, the wolf still won't let him touch it. Winter is fast approaching and Keda must find his way home before it starts to snow. He doesn't think he can make it without his father, but he has to try. After gathering enough provisions and struggling with the wolf to get his fur back, Keda leaves the cave and starts his way back, feeling frustrated because the wolf won't stop following him no matter how many times he tells it to go away. Finally, Keda gives in and accepts the wolf as his new traveling companion, even training it to come when he whistles. Their first attempts at hunting together are a complete failure, but after a few tries, they manage to find a way to coordinate their attacks and secure their prey without much effort. At night, Keda checks that they are going in the right direction using the constellation tattoo on his hand, and the wolf begins to sleep by his side, even allowing him to touch it now that he has earned its trust. After an afternoon at the lake bathing and fishing, Keda decides to name the wolf Alpha. Their journey is taking so long that winter finally catches up to them and snow begins to fall. One night, while eating by the fire, they are approached by a pack of wolves that turns out to be Alpha's family. Knowing what it's like to miss loved ones, Keda tells Alpha to go with them, so he is now left to continue traveling alone. As time passes, snowstorms become more common, and Keda struggles to make much progress each day, especially when he has a devastating dream of Tao arriving home and giving Ro the bad news. After a few days walking through another storm, he comes across Alpha and the pack, but as he runs toward them, the ice breaks under his feet and he falls into the frozen water. While his mother's fur and most of his gear float away, Keda strikes the ice with his knife and manages to break enough for Alpha to pull him out. The two begin traveling together again, and later that night, Keda sleeps hugging Alpha to regain some warmth in his frozen body. After advancing a few more miles, they find a trail of footprints that they follow to a cabin, but unfortunately, the owner has frozen to death. There is no food, but Keda grabs a bow and arrow to hunt, ignoring Alpha's concern when he suddenly begins coughing up blood. Sometime later, the duo finds themselves between a rock and a hard place. There are hyenas following them, but also a very dangerous storm ahead, so they run until they find a cave to hide in. Unfortunately, the place is not empty. There is a cave lion that does not hesitate to attack them. Alpha fights fiercely while Keda notches an arrow in his bow, concentrating to hit the right target. He manages to kill the lion and save Alpha, who is still seriously injured from the fight. When they resume traveling very slowly through the blizzard, they find the sculpture that marks the sacred path, so Keda knows they must be close. Their hope is strengthened when the aurora borealis appears above them one night, a sign that their ancestors must be guiding them. However, Alpha is too weak to go on, and one day he finally collapses. Not wanting to leave his friend behind, Keda begins to carry the wolf in his arms, ignoring the fact that he too is weak and continues to cough up blood. The conditions are so harsh that Keda finally collapses as well. But then, he finds encouragement in a memory that comes to him in a dream. It is the conversation he overheard his parents having the night before they left. To help Ro not worry, Tao had told her that Keda is stronger than he himself knows. With a newfound strength thanks to his father's belief in him, Keda wakes up and picks up Alpha again, carrying him through the storm until they finally return to their tribe. No one can believe what they are seeing, and Tao cries as he tells his son how proud he is before taking him and the wolf to a tent to be cared for. After Keda is healed and fed, the shaman examines Alpha, quickly realizing what the problem is. Alpha is actually female and is giving birth. All the pups are born safe and sound, and the tribe welcomes them as part of the family. Years later, once the pups have grown into adult wolves, They are assigned to the hunters as companions and are taken on the next great hunt before winter.